Well, the fairy tale isn't over, folks, as Jaylins continue their Cinderella run, not leaving a shoe behind in that 3-0 sweep. Online Warriors had a shock as Jaylins lit up the streets in Street Ball with more than just bullets. Their objective work was absolutely insane. The Slayer got a lot closer though. Aquarius saw a back and forth Slayer between the two teams, fighting for control of spawns and pushes at just the right time. The Jaylins managed to get their hands on the final kill and close out the map. And finally, Life Strongholds, a solid start for Jaylins, looking to take it pretty comfortably, but the alarm went off for Online Warriors and they started to chip away at the lead, with big swing moments coming in by overextending and applying pressure. The pressure though made a diamond out of Jaylins, and my goodness, they take away a 3-0 series win. That was exceptional work from the Jaylins boys, and I'm really excited to see them actually peak at the perfect timing. You know, coming to Valencia, an all-European LAN, the first we've had this season. What a time to do it and what time to shine. Talking about shining though, I see a lot of shiny lights behind me on the main stage because we have our winners finals coming up very soon. We've got Navi versus Acend. So excited about this matchup. You know, both of these teams have been really kind of main contenders for this top spot. Navi, a lot of question marks about this roster, a lot of questions about what they're going to do and achieve this season so far. Looking pretty good this weekend though. We actually did sit down with Navi and Acend to find out how they're feeling about this very intense winners finals.
So pick up 2-3 kills, and now he finds himself a rockets, and Aquarius finds himself picking himself off the floor for a few seconds as he finds the death screen. But now you see...
We just played Jaylins in winner semi-final. I'm not gonna lie, we were expecting to win 3-0 because I was trying to win the tournament without dropping a map, but you know, it happens, like we lost a map, it's not that big of a deal. I know that everyone is a bit scared of playing us because of who we are, so we have to stay confident and knowing that people have pressure whenever they have to play against us. We have to remember who we are and not be afraid, because at the end we are the best and we're here to prove it.
And Acend will run this one home. It's been a hell of an effort from Jaylins, but Acend have been champions for a reason.
Going on to the finals is definitely going to be tough. I think obviously you look at the track record of Acend being very, very dominant. They've held this dominance and it's all been online. It's the last 2 years of online, whereas they're coming up against a bunch of European players who we've all, I think on our team alone we've probably got about 25, 30 event wins combined. So LAN is where we're at.
Uh-oh. 3v3, Jim using that sword again. He seems to be spawning with it at the moment. The game is so much easier.
They haven't really had tough matchups yet, whereas we're going to have to go through the gauntlet to try and get them. So I think that rides with us as well.
We are going to get to the grand finals in Willy for sure. It will only mean something if I can bring the trophy with me.
Good luck, have fun.
I think actually Jimbo does actually come up with a valid point there about, the level of competition they've had to face so far this weekend. And he is right in saying that I think Acend so far haven't really had a huge amount of obstacles in their way, whereas Navi on occasion have had teams that they've had to kind of pull back with. They've had Quadrant on the main stage as well, which we've seen what they've done to them. So I think right now is where I think Acend are going to be meeting their match. I kind of said it before. Depending on how Navi perform is honestly a big indicator of how this weekend is going to go. But Acend, they have their work cut out right now. I think they needed to go back to the drawing board after their kind of series with Jaylins, expecting to kind of 3-0 this team, not happening. On set, what do Acend right now need to work on, need to improve in order to really take this one to Navi?
It's going to be about stopping Navi's momentum. I think that game one is very, very important in this series, arguably more important than any other series we've seen so far in this tournament, because if Navi win, then all of a sudden Acend, the first thought comes into your head of like, ooh, these guys are looking good, we could lose this series, we could have to go through that elimination bracket to even have the opportunity to go into a grand final. I know it's only one game, but those sort of thoughts start to manifest themselves in your head. And on the other side of things, Acend have been dominant online, right? They have beaten Navi hundreds of times, it feels like, so far in Halo Infinite. And there's always been this talk of, it's online, it doesn't matter, it's online. If you've beaten once on LAN, then all of a sudden Navi get reminded of all the losses. And they're like, oh, it's actually just Acend are really, really, really good, regardless of whether it's online and LAN. So I think for Acend, they need to come out of the gates hot. They need to win that game one. They need to put the doubt back onto Navi.
Couldn't agree more, and I think Schurz has really been talking about it perfectly the whole weekend, right? When you look at Acend, expected to win the tournament. When you look at Navi, a little bit of a darker horse, and I think Navi's thriving off of that so far.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where for Navi, particularly on Friday, shake a magic 8-ball, and whatever that answer's going to be, that's what Navi we're going to see. I think what we have seen today from them, though, that dominant display against Quadrant, all of a sudden, I think Acend to be a little bit more nervous than they were, particularly on the Friday. But I think for Navi, we need to see them start hot. Game one's going to be so important, because if they lose it, then they find themselves drifting back into themselves once more. And I think for Acend, they've been dominating Europe. They've been running this whole region. It's been thriving off the fear. Everyone's afraid to play them. They know exactly what to expect. So I really want Navi to come out here firing.
And how do Acend deal with pressure? They haven't had to deal with pressure. This is the thing. Like, we've seen it on the other teams. They've been put in pressure situations, in brackets, in tournament play, wherever it might be. Acend have just won everything. So now you get to this position where Acend, if they go down in the series, we learn something more about them. Will they be able to cope with that? Because we know that Mighties is going to be heard from over the stage. We've seen it from Jimbo, and we've seen it from Kimbo as well. Kimbo and Jimbo, usually very quiet guys, keep themselves to themselves, but the energy and that they're feeding off of from Mighties as well, I think that Navi look like a scary proposition.
And another great thing about Mighties too, right? Every time, even when it's these wins where the rest of the team isn't jumping out of their seat, right? Mighties is always so fired up, and I think that's added a lot to this roster as we think about the energy and the momentum.
Yeah, indeed.
I think what I could say for Acend here is complacency could be something that creeps in on them. You hear Sneak in the interview, he speaks very, very well, but something he says is players are afraid to play us. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of teams expect to lose against them all the time, but I think if game one, if Navi can just plant that seed of doubt, all of a sudden the pressure's definitely on.
I think also something that really stood out, I think, in the Acend series against Jaylins was kind of them slacking a little bit on prioritizing certain things. And I think if Navi can capitalize on those, this could be really detrimental to Acend. You know, looking at the power-ups, I mentioned it before, I was a little bit shocked that Acend let it slip time and time again, where they were letting Jaylins pick up the power-ups for free pretty much every single map, and they continue to do it. They didn't improve on it. Yes, could have been a little bit of a bait and it kind of went wrong, miscommunication, but to allow that to happen more often than not in a series, you know, how much can Navi kind of push that to the limit?
Oh, Navi will be on top of all the weapons. You know, Wonderboy is always calling out to them, you know, 10 seconds to rockets, 5 seconds, they're your rockets. He does the work for them when it comes to knowing what player is going to be in position to pick them up. But going back to that game that you're talking about, Acend took the loss. They took the L. You said, Seeker said he wanted to go the whole game without losing a map or whatever it was, win the whole tournament without losing a map. But the way they bounced back in the next game was most impressive because they just absolutely decimated them. And it was not even close. So they took the loss and they bounced back immediately and put everything right.
Yeah, indeed they did. You mentioned, though, on set that the series layout, that first map, was going to be so important. Let's take a look at the series layout right now. We have Li-Fi, King of the Hill. What are you noticing there? You told me it was really important. You know, how important is this King of the Hill game going to be?
I think at this point, I look at the game types and I'm not really looking too much into it just because of the fact that everyone's played the game types now. Everyone's had the preparation time. Everyone has put the work in they need to have to succeed. I think a lot of this series is based off momentum now. King of the Hill, we said yesterday Navi didn't look great in it in scrims and warm-ups. Online, it doesn't really matter because they came in against Online Warriors and they absolutely smashed them out of the park. So I look at that and I'm not too worried for either team. I think it's going to be all about just who's on fire.
I think for game one, I think Respectful, when Shady played in that roster, King of the Hill would be a game type that Acend would thrive at, but ever since Respectful's come in, he plays a little bit slower. He offers other things, but he plays a little bit slower, and maybe that'll play into the hands of Navi.
Couldn't agree more. I was going to say the same thing, Schurz. I think when you have a King of the Hill game one, it's a little bit of a stutter step, right? The fastest teams in the world want that to be a live fire Strongholds. Yep. They want to apply the pressure. They want to make you bleed. They want to win the game like 250 to 80. King of the Hill, it's a stutter step, right? After the first 2 minutes of play, there's only 1 point on the board, right? It's very different. I think that could play into the hands of Navi as well.
It certainly can, and also the defensive element to it as well. You have to have somebody in that hill the entire time. You can't be rotating and moving, and the fast pace does kind of slow down just a little bit. So you're totally right there in terms of the way that that one is playing out. Let's talk quickly, though, about a head-to-head, and it's going to be the battle of the brand new players on this roster. I mean, Mighty's Respectful. Both of them really, really talented individuals. On set, though, who is bringing more to their team?
It's a very difficult question to answer because they both offer something different. Brandon brings experience. You heard him talking about it before. Respectful has been there, has won tournaments, has known how to get through the tough situations. And on the other side of that, you've just got this youthful exuberance that Mighty's brings. He's popping off, like we're saying, at every single kill, at every single play that his teammates are playing. He's bringing this energy. And you're looking statistically there between the two players. I think they've got different play styles. I think they both work so well for their rosters to enable the rest of them. And I think it's going to come down to those two players performing at the best of their game.
I think Mighty's offers a little bit more to Navi than Respectful does, and I'll explain why. Respectful is going onto a team that were already proven winners. They were winning everything there was, so he's come in and they've continued to win. Mighty's, on the other hand, he's come into a team and that fresh air is breathing through them. All these players are now looking forward to playing. You see Jim up there, relaxed, hands over his head when he's winning series against Quadrant. So I think his youthful exuberance, the confidence that he's bringing to this team, he's on another level.
Also, you and I were watching Mighty's backstage on those plays on Recharge, right? How impressive was he? You and I were talking, I think you said it perfectly. This guy's, right, his first time here on a big main stage, and he's just so comfortable in the back of Siege, just hitting repulsor plays, just challenging plays that maybe others wouldn't, and finding success in those moments. And Mighty's right now on top of the world. The question is, can he continue it through the winners finals?
Big question. Not so much a comparison right now, but I've got to say Mighty's, I mean, what an incredible opportunity for this guy. I was talking to Gaskin about it, you know, previously playing with the likes of top 12 teams and then getting picked up by Navi. Now in this position in a winners finals, first time coming in, playing on LAN this young. I mean, there's a lot to play for here, and I know he's going to be lighting up on that main stage very shortly as well. Quickly, got to get into predictions very, very fast. Onset, who are you going with?
Oof. Wow. You always fire the
I need it.
No, I'm making it interesting. I'm making it interesting. I'm going Navi.
Serious?
I think they're on fire. It doesn't matter. We're going quick.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Here we go. This matters.
I think it certainly matters. I will say...
These are terrible at doing quick.
Ascend.
Ascend.
Okay, Navi, Ascend. We're going to head on over to our casters right now. We have Clutch and Gaskin on the mics. Let's get into this winners finals. Gentlemen, I'm so excited.
This is what we've all been waiting for, right? Winners bracket finals, Navi versus Ascend, Respectful versus Mighty, Structure versus Organized Chaos. Wes, what are you thinking?
Gosh, I mean, there's just so many storylines to talk about here. Everybody on that stage has a chip on their shoulder for a different reason, whether it's Respectful for being dropped, whether it's Ascend for the risk of their dynasty coming to an end, whether it's Navi's comeback story or it's Mighty's first time on a LAN environment, and boy, has he been something to watch this weekend. So everybody's coming in here with a little bit of extra motivation, and there's no love lost between these two because these are the top dogs in the European history of Halo, right? When I think of European Halo, I think of Jimbo and the boys over on Navi, but over the past couple years, that title, that legacy has kind of been stripped away, has been replaced from the dominance that Ascend has created, and with the addition of Respectful, Ascend look to continue that dominance. And boy, are these guys ready, and they better be ready because Navi are coming in hot.
Fist bumps all round. The players are locked and loaded. King of the Hill live fire is where we kick things off for this winners bracket finals. And I think I just have to go back to what Respectful was saying. This is a different team to what I played on the Navi. They didn't know how to play chaotic. They didn't know how to play amongst the chaos. Prove that now on this Ascend roster. Prove that you can deconstruct this Navi roster, who are so good once they set up.
And the big thing for me when he said that was this team is versatile. Something we criticize Navi at is maybe not being as versatile, but Navi hasn't needed to be versatile here in the last few series over the weekend because they have been dominant so far here in the winners bracket. Speaking of dominance, though, Snipe Drone with a beautiful double kill to kick this one off. And if you wonder how dominant Ascend's careers have been, it's because of the individual performances like that one just there.
It was a dominant double, but it was a fantastic reply from Navi to shut down 3 members. The overshield suddenly gets the focus here, but look at the amount of time that Ascend are racking up. They've gone for the play of, we want the hill here, you can have that overshield.
I love that play from Ascend. We're not going to spend all of our resources over towards the overshield. We're going to rack up about half the time already in that hill. So this overshield, it has to count if you're Navi, and already overshield dwindled away, not too much production from it. Ascend are going to get the better of the trades.
Jim has to back off, but Navi have been able to at least dip their toes into the hill here. And Ascend might get backstabbed by Jim. We've already seen this once throughout the tournament. He knows when to flank, and when he does execute it, it's deadly.
Jim's flanks have been influential to the Navi success so far. Unfortunately, this one, it's not going to find any success. Multiple members of Navi going down. This hill, it's still controlled by Ascend, and Snipe Drone, the guy you don't want to see with Snipe. He's positioned top tower, and maybe gets a free kill at the same time. Wasn't pretty, but Snipe Drone gets map control while the hill's being scored. Everything going right for Ascend on the first point.
It's a nice and comfortable first hill for Ascend, that's for sure. And Snipe Drone just needs to stay alive here. Can't give away the sniper rifle just yet. Good movement, of course, to try and make sure that he just keeps Navi on their toes as to where they try and predict where he is.
It's an easy jump to miss with all the pressure on these kids, but you see in how Snipe Drone and the rest of the boys seem to shine brightest when the lights do the same on the main stage. And Ascend being able to not only score that point, but set up perfectly for the second point benefits them so well. Navi having to compete from that elbow position, do so successfully, but they're a little late to the overshield.
Zika gets the overshield. And also, whilst it's evident that scrim results haven't been the most important thing to talk about at this tournament, as there's been lots of changes, Ascend have historically got the better of Navi on this game type, and I'm sure they'll have confidence going into it. But Navi, they need this second hill. I don't feel like you can go 2-0 down against Acend and have any sort of comeback.
Love it out of Navi right there. 2 players jumping up, and that's the holding hand situation we're starting to see not more of Navi do so far throughout this winner's bracket run. 2 of them jumping up for Bruce. Just too much pressure, too many numbers for the members of Acend to deal with, and now they have hill control. Jim jumps out of hill momentarily, trying to finish off a kill towards the elbow. Looks top middle, head on a swivel. Jim trying to impact the game, however, but most importantly, look at that hill time. Dan already up over halfway as well.
Jim can't quite decide which weapon to use, and he goes down because of it. This is where Navi should be at their best, when they have control of that hill, when they have a little bit of structure to work with. Mighty's just about stays on the map. Unfortunately, the angle means for his opposition that he's not going to get sent hightailing off of it, but this is already good point scoring for Navi. If they can tie this up 1-1, that'll give them a lot of confidence going into the rest.
They're in prime position to do so. With a couple more slays in their favor, they're going to be guaranteed this point. Respectful getting taken down on the elbow. It's just Sika that you got to deal with left on the elbow side. I believe there's 1 player top middle, but somehow, some way, Snipe Drone finds 2, and that could be just the opening for Acend to ruin any plot of Navi tying this one up.
Because even though you've got so much time, we know that in King of the Hill, in Infinite, all it takes is 1 setup. All it takes sometimes is 1 headshot, and it can make a massive difference. Now it's Ascend's turn to try and stop Navi from being able to break this hill.
We watched the series earlier. Sika was popping off, and if he's a player that's on fire, enemies, they're going to have a hard time dealing with this Acend roster with how much talent they have. Sika is one of those guys that when he's playing at his best, he can be Europe's finest in such a tough position. Wisely, love that by him. Not a winnable situation. Let me get this power weapon off the map. That's a snake bite special. Sika learning from the best.
Navi tie things up. But Acend have got another overshield. Something we've credited Navi all tournament long is their overshield control, and maybe Acend have overlooked that at times. Navi need to keep on top of it. They need to find that same success they've been having all tournament long.
So even though Acend were able to perfectly set up for each of the previous hills, the second one goes into Navi's favor. They do a phenomenal job of somehow competing against the map control that Acend had. They're going to have to do so again here in the third. And already the hill up over halfway. Not much of a Navi push so far, and as they lose 2 members, I'm starting to wonder, are they ever going to be able to break this one, or is this going to be the fastest point of the game so far, going in Ascend's favor to give them the lead again?
Kimbo, the last remaining player, and they know where he is, and that means the hunting party are going to come out with their forks and their torches to try and eliminate Kimbo off of this map, but he's still somehow surviving and being a nuisance, and now the rest of Navi can perhaps use this as a distraction. Kimbo doesn't go down, Kimbo stays alive, but unfortunately, the point goes in favor of Acend.
The micro from Kimbo there was beautiful, but unfortunately, none of it matters because you're only as good as the score at the very bottom of the screen. That's a 2-1 favor for Acend now, and as this hill moves towards the overshield, overshield not coming up in the next few moments, but you can guarantee there will be an overshield that comes up during this hill, and if Acend already have control of this area and they're able to get that overshield, you're almost going to guarantee they take that 3-1 lead. So a break from Navi is crucial to keep this within striking distance.
If Navi time this correctly, you're right. They could break the hill, they could get the overshield, and they could quite possibly win this hill as well. So you really need to be thinking about when you go for your slays, when you go for your pushes, but you also don't want to give too much time away here, because Acend are just chewing through this hill.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. These hills will go by fast if they're not competed for, and Legend, he's able to get that overshield. Hasn't seen a single enemy to even shoot at throughout this entire time, and that's a quick point for Acend. They've started to take over this game on the back of everyone stepping it up. Look at those kills then, 11, 10, 13, 14, and you got to stay respectful with 14 because he's a newcomer on this squad. Mighty's is doing his part, but he needs Jim to step it up as well.
Well, not only is that overshield going to have an influence in the last hill, but it also has an influence on this hill. Eventually, the overshield falls. Tower control temporarily in the hands of Navi, but Navi find themselves 3 dead. Mighty's got a lot to do here, should be traded out, but somehow still scarpers away.
Navi, they seem to be struggling. I want to hop into an Astro listening and see what the comms are like. Are they able to stay calm during these pressured moments?
Come inside, Victor.
We have to keep
A plant 2 shot. Legend's over there as well. A, there's 2 weak A plant side.
AR as well.
I'm gonna go in the hill after push 2.
Legend.
The hill 2 shot, boys.
Okay.
Respect for 1 shot.
Dead.
1 shot A plant. He chopped down. There's 2.
Down him, not
Easy. could not get kills again. Oh, that's all good. All good. Means they're still taking these ones.
All 4 dead for Navi, and although it was a brief listen in, you could almost hear a little bit of panic, a little bit of stress there as game 1 of our Winners Bracket Finals comes to an end. It's a 4-1 victory from Acend, and that 1 point from Navi, you might as well have forgotten it because it was all Acend for about the last 3/4 of the game.
It was 4-1 last time they scrimmed, and it's 4-1 here on LAN. No differences just yet. But it is only game 1 of 5, of course, and I think Navi will look at that and say, okay, maybe not our best game type, but let's make sure we start to focus up here going into Slayer as a game 2. But as we look back at the King of the Hill, overshield control has been something we've been constantly praising Navi for, but it just seemed like Acend shut them out time and time again throughout live fire.
Storyline goes, every overshield Acend wanted, they got. The one they gave up, they gladly took the hill time over to green. That ended up working out in their favor as well. And if you're Navi, you got to do a better job of winning those crucial fights for that, but weighing the objective and the overshield at the same time, something that's new, I would say, to the Infinite style with that King of the Hill being an additional game type now. It's difficult to start to realize, hey, maybe this one's not worth it. Maybe we should focus on control. Teamwork can melt an overshield. We cannot replace hill time.
4.7k damage for Snipe Drone. He had that one blip during the Winners Bracket semis where he had an off game, but then ever since then he's been backfiring. He's been back to the robot that we know and love. And if he does continue to output that much damage, it's going to get more and more troublesome for this Navi roster.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about a blip, this is the first blip to show up on the Winners Bracket side for Navi. Onstead talked about it on the desk before the match, right? Navi hasn't lost a game. Is this going to be a 3-0? I don't think so. Game 1 is the most important game, he said. Navi not showing up here in game 1, and you wonder how long was that momentum wave going to be able to carry this Navi roster? Are they going to be able to get back up on the saddle, get back to the winning ways here in game 2? Because this series leaning heavily towards Ascend's favor now that that game 1 looks so dominant.
And I know we get listen-ins mid-game. I'd love a listen-in post-game because I want to know what Navi are kind of thinking at the moment. Because it's very easy to look at what they were able to achieve in the Winners Bracket semis and then think, hey, we can go on, we can beat Acend. But after a loss like that, it is so easy to be deflated as a team and think, same old, maybe Acend are just that one level too high.
It's like going to the locker room after a half of a performance you're not too proud of, but on the other side, watching the fist bumps, a little bit of a stank face from Legend in the fact he's like, hey, these guys are kind of easy, he says, after that first game. I like where we're headed, so Acend, they're going to be riding on Cloud 9 right now. They play a lot like Cloud 9, so this is going to be Navi's job to stop them. If this is Ascend's tournament, if they're going to keep playing like this, then Navi got to find a roadblock, got to find something to slow down the train that is this Ascend roster.
Well, Seeker in the interview said, we didn't want to drop a game all tournament long, and then we dropped one against Jaylins. And unfortunately, when someone says that, that probably means they're going to play even better when you see them in the next series. These guys are upset, they are angry that they dropped a game, and they want to make a point here.
We'll put an asterisk by it. It was a Catalyst Slayer, but a game nonetheless. They don't get that title. But if you're able to win every objective at a tournament, I'd say you're probably a pretty dominant team in my opinion. And as we get into game 2, it's going to be Recharge Slayer. Dan, what are some statistics for me here that can give me some hope for Navi?
I mean, both unbeaten so far in the tournament, but they've not really played any tough opponents. It was the lower seeded teams in pool play where they matched up against each other. Navi have looked good on Recharge ever since the addition of Mighties though, and they start things off with a camouflage.
Something we saw yesterday was Navi do the same thing, but it got shut down pretty quickly. These camo pushes at the start. No one on Acend must have watched that VOD because they don't change their setup at all. And because of it, Kimbo has found 2 with a successful camo grab where he has been unscathed.
And Kimbo desperately looking for more, as perhaps Acend just hiding away from this camouflage and making sure that there's no easy kills. They do eventually group up over towards Turbine, but Kimbo knows it. It's been called out, and those grenades could do some serious damage.
Yeah, he's predicting exactly where these members of Acend are. The first player not hit by those grenades, but a good trade from Kimbo. You want to see Navi capitalize on this numbers advantage with Mighties, with the shock rifle now in hand. Such a crucial piece to the puzzle for this Navi roster success. The new addition, of course, but I'd say the main slayer for the squad. Trying to find an opening, but more importantly, trying to hold on to this power weapon, knowing how strong the members of Acend are with it. What can he give us?
He temporarily looked over towards a teammate screen to check where that one shot was. Almost found himself looking away for a little bit too long, but they're still 10-4 up, are Navi, and shock rifle still in hand. Mighty said it's his favorite weapon. He loves just being able to zip round corners and hit those headshots. Well, I want to see those headshots. I want to see them in the biggest of games, the biggest of moments.
Can't quite hit that one. He's been doing it all weekend long, a couple of bodies. And as he hits a couple of bodies, his teammates drop. He'll do the same. And that's why the shock rifle is such a difficult weapon to master, because it's high risk, high reward. If you're not able to land that headshot all the way through the burst of the shock, you can quickly be eliminated by the lack of damage to the body that it does. Navi now on their back feet. From a control standpoint, still in the lead by 2 as Camo is coming up. And those kills from Navi in the kill feed, those are going to bode well for their opportunity to once again get that camouflage.
Mize has found the shock rifle again. He missed a few shots, and that made an opening for Acend. It was something that Morga said on the desk, that Acend, they will take advantage of your mistakes, as Legend also hits a solid 4 onto Mighty's. Navi do still lead though, 14-12, and they've got another camouflage. So power-up timing has been far better for Navi here, and it's Jim's turn with a shock.
How about the last time Jim had shock? The headshot onto the sword guy, that was incredible. A nice shock to the body, the grenade kill, and Jim starting to heat up. Maybe not the best game one, but Jim, you want to be aggressive. Maybe that was an overextension that you're kicking yourself for because you had numbers in your favor, but a grapple onto a nade is exactly what Acend needed to see to make this a one-kill game.
It's a difficult one because those are the kind of plays you may have to make against Acend. You do have to be aggressive. You do try to capitalize on having a player advantage, but you don't want to be too predictable. Perhaps they heard that grapple and a little grenade to the floor. It was job done.
Legend trying to stay alive here. 2Foxy doing a good job to get into a position to stop it from happening right before his shields come back, and a good collapse by Navi. Something we can credit them for from their winners bracket run, playing a little bit more aggressive, being able to capitalize a little bit more on these situations. Now with map control in hand, what can Z Mighty show us? And
even though these two have been scrimming a lot in the last couple of weeks, they haven't been playing Slayers against each other. They've just been focusing on the objectives, maybe recognizing that the Slayers are just who's playing better on the day. Well, at the moment, 22-22, nothing to separate two of the biggest and best teams in Europe right now. Two teams we will be seeing in Orlando as well. They are guaranteed those tickets to that major. But now the focus is on trying to become champions as Sika gets a double.
Easy kills for Sika there. Taking top control. Knowing that they're spawning in pipes as well, what do you decide to do here? It's a little bit slower of a pace we're seeing out of Acend. That may be why this game is so close. 26-25. A lot of respect being shown from the purple team.
Well, it was something the desk talked about. They said respectful. He likes a slower game. He does slow things down a little bit. And he did that on Navi back in the day. He slowed them down on recharge. Is that going to play into their favor, though? Does that end up being quite a tactical, methodical game here against Navi?
Third camo of a row. Third camo in a row going into Navi's hands. It's Kimbo this time around. And you have to think these camos, they're going to start to add up. Ascend's going to be looking back at some point if they lose this one and say, where was our power-up control? Because it's been all Navi so far. A much different story than game one, and we'll see if the score is going to result at the end of the day in their favor.
Nice shots from Kimbo. And I cannot stress enough just how important, how much of a fifth man Wonderboy has been on this Navi roster as coach. One of the biggest reasons as to why they're getting these camos. And also he was bringing the energy, he was bringing the hype. Unfortunately, though, Snipe Drone shuts down Kimbo.
You never want to give Snipe Drone this weapon because good things usually happen when this guy finds it. Unfortunately, can't hit the shots, and maybe not the prettiest battle from either Mighty's or Snipe Drone. They get the trades in order to neutralize that weapon, and as Sika finds himself with a tough position, somehow Sika gets out of it. He's been doing it all day. Such a difficult kill. Sika showing you he brought his A game to Championship Sunday.
These are some of the best players in Europe. Some of the best players in the world as well, within the top 8 of international competition, but they are neutralizing each other at the moment. We're not seeing these flashy plays. We're not seeing the big headshots. This is a nervous one. I think Navi know how important it is. I think Acend know how important this Slayer is. This is really going to define the series.
There's a little bit of extra mustard on this one for sure, as these two teams are very familiar with each other. They want this win as well. They know how big this tournament is for their histories. Good damage by Jimbo as well here, but Doesn't expect the player to be there, but the rest of Navi show up. They get 3 dead, and now as we approach the end of the game, Dan, the late game situations in this Slayer, 42-38, Navi with that round of slays have now set the tone for the rest of this match.
The game's starting to speed up a little bit, but it's a 5-kill advantage now for Navi. Ascend starting to drop off, and Navi may be smelling blood. Got to be careful you don't get sucked into a trap, though, from Ascend. 6 more kills required for Navi.
How are they going to play this one? Are they going to try and be aggressive? Are they going to slow it down, play for shock? Are they going to allow another camo to spawn up? Questions to ask yourself, Jimbo. We've seen some successful flanks from him, and he's behind enemy lines. Where is Ascend hiding?
Nothing to be shown. Ascend more than happy to sit in the elevator as if it was broken. They've pressed the call button, but no one is helping them at the moment. And Navi is saying, look, we've got 4 minutes 50. We are more than happy to wait for you boys. It's Ascend who have to make the decision here. It's Ascend who have to make the move.
It's pretty crazy that Ascend actually made the decision to rotate towards elevator too. They were once in control, something that a lot of teams actually prioritize. Ascend have now rotated towards the elevator, towards pipes, and Kimbo needs to be careful here.
Kimbo's going to be the first point of contact.
Oh, no.
The nades start flooding in, has to back off, stay alive. But this might give the opening now for Ascend to start moving their way around the map. But do Navi just rotate equally around towards elevator as well?
Jimbo spots 2. Snipe Drone gets the first pick. Jimbo with some nice shots onto the player batteries, but nobody in a position to clean that one up. Snipe Drone finds a second. Now all of a sudden just a 2-kill game. Jim, frustrated, this player's not dead. Gets him back down to no shields, but that player should be dead a long time ago with the advantages that Navi had. The repulsor knocks Respectful back to the platform, and it's not enough to keep Respectful alive. Jim with some great shots behind it, able to push this one back to a 4-kill lead.
Great awareness from Jim as well. He didn't focus too much on the batteries player. He knew Respectful was somewhere. Perhaps that's just knowledge of an ex-teammate. 48-43, Navi so close to tying up the series.
Look at Jim go, just being a hard kill, doing so much damage. And now 1 kill away, they get it. Navi make the difference up at the end. The rotations, they read them like a book. And on the back of a heads-up play from Jim, they take game 2 as well to tie this one up. 1-1, Navi respond phenomenally to game 1's poor performance.
Snipe Drone got an entry. Jim looking across the battery. Snipe Drone gets another. Jim's still looking across the batteries, but he's constantly checking his backside. And it was for good reason. I don't know whether he heard footsteps, I don't know whether he predicted it, or whether he just had tabs on Respectful, but he knew full well a flank was arriving. If he had not prioritized that flank, could have been a very different endgame there for Navi. So even though Jim may have let a couple of kills slip from his teammates, he got arguably one of the most important kills that he could have got in those final moments. So a 50-44 win. We tie the series up 1-1, and I cannot stress enough how important that was for Navi. If they had gone down 2-0, I may have been questioning whether they would be able to get back into this series. But at 1-1, definitely still winnable.
Another Slayer lost on the side of Ascend, so this series, if it goes the distance, all of a sudden Ascend's their last 2 Slayers. You start wondering how big of a chance does Navi have? Can they take an objective is the big question. But as we take a look at the stats from game 2, Dan, Jimbo with one hell of a performance, 16, 12, 10. That's a most at that point. But the kills and the assists, they gave Navi every single bit of the lead they had.
I think that once Navi noticed Ascend had slowed down to a crawl and they were trying to work their way through, they positioned themselves on the map perfectly. They spread themselves out, they got their cups out, and they put their ears to the wall, and they just wanted to hear something. They needed that little bit of information. And even though Ascend's push was good enough to get them 2, it wasn't good enough to get any sort of map control because Navi had been able to position themselves so successfully.
And one of the successful game plans I tried to point out in the middle of the game was, look at the camo control on the side of Navi, right? Every single camo just about goes into their hands. And they won a Slayer by 6 kills. You have to think that if Ascend gets those camos, is that a much different story? Navi doing such an important job of controlling the sandbox here in this map. And because of it, it gave them so many situational advantages, created such a difference in the power curves for each team. A much different storyline than in game 1.
Perhaps it's a case of Ascend not thinking the camouflage is that important as an overshield. Perhaps they can keep tabs on it and they can get that kill before the camo actually gets away. But what Navi did successfully was escape with that camouflage. Game number 3, though, we talk about organized chaos. Capture the Flag Catalyst is exactly that.
This is going to be a tough one for both teams. Such a new map mode combination and such a crucial point in this tournament. It falls on Game 3 of the Winners Bracket Finals. And as this meta develops for this map, how you play your life, what you do off each spawn, we're going to see a lot of decisions that will make the difference. And a good decision, a bad decision, a win or a loss. We're not quite sure how it's all going to play out as these two teams continue to evolve that meta, but one thing I can guarantee is Acend are going to look to be aggressive. Wouldn't be surprised if they play this very similar to a Fathom-esque style where you're seeing a lot of overextensions, you're seeing a lot of flag stalemates, and potentially the plays that will decide those flag stalemates typically result in the winner of the match.
It's another game type that these guys have not been scrimming against each other. Even after the 18 games they've played, they just choose not to go for Capture the Flag Catalyst. So it's about who's been doing their homework, which coach has been looking at those starting strategies, who can get that overshield first and make sure they secure the sword so they can get a big old pull. This is going to be a banger.
Well, if you want to know who's been doing their homework, I can tell you already it's not Acend based off the start of Recharge Slayer, just allowing Kimbo to get that overshield. So maybe Navi will have some kind of an advantage here at the start, but that advantage may just be stripped away. The first 2 kills, they go in the hands of Acend. So does the overshield, and now Snipe Drone has his eyes on Jimbo.
Not just has the eyes on Jimbo, but the eyes on the sword as well. Overshield plus sword, plus pushing into the base. This is where Navi need to be a little bit careful, because this can very quickly turn into a flag run if you're not careful. But Snipe Drone knows he can't just run aimlessly into the base here, otherwise he could be drilled by several BRs.
I'll be honest, I slept during math most of the time. I don't know what that equation usually turns into, but overshield plus sword plus control usually ends up sounding like a pretty good thing. That's a positive result, I'd have to assume, and that flag being on the move is going to be a positive thing for Acend fans to see.
Snipe Drone tries to lay down a little bit of covering fire, and that's a good toss. This is good recognizing that you cannot afford to go down with the flag here, otherwise you will be numbers down once you get into your base.
The pressure, it's on. The overextenders, they're here. Acend's got to deal with them. The flag being pulled, and it's one of those Fathom-esque styles where you overextend, you get a touch, you cut the flag off. Can you get the slays, though? The answer is no. Acend, they get their kills. Is the flag returned, however, it is going to stay 0-0 as that flag is returned. Navi do just enough to keep this game tied.
How on earth did Acend not get that? They tried to repulse her up to get the touch, but Navi have done just enough so that they get sent back purely off a little bit of a retime, and then eventually just too much time for them to work with to try and actually get a touch of their own. Respectful now has the skewer, but he goes down. Flag is moving. 2 members have fallen for Acend.
How are Acend going to play this one? Kimbo, he's got sword in hand, able to find one, but losing teammates all over the place. He wants to get the return out of the flag that's been thrown out. And Kimbo, he's able to get a touch, actually. So even though Acend look like they have an advantage in that opportunity, Jimbo, Kimbo, they're about to make some plays, but Respectful trying to get that overshield impacted. Jimbo able to hit some crucial shots to take that one down. Not only that, he gets the touch. His flag, it's going to be returned. And if Jimbo can continue to advance this flag, they're only going to have to worry about 1, maybe 2 overextenders from Acend, and they will find themselves up 1-0.
I mean, that overshield play might have worked online, does not work on land. Jimbo connects with those shots, but unfortunately now is the last remaining player. Does have a sword to work with, though. Flag will get returned. No cap for Navi, but what can Jimbo do to try and stop this run?
Overshield in the hands of Snipe Drone, so they still acquire that. And those overextenders, Snipe Drone can smell them. There's one high, one low. Low, it's down. Mid-bridge. 2 for the overshield. Overshield control being so crucial to these flags run, and that's going to do it. Snipe Drone with that overshield able to subside any of the overextension from Navi. Acend take the lead 1-0.
And they both got one close, but it is Acend who finally put one in. And Navi, unfortunately, after getting so close themselves, this is what Catalyst flag is like. It's counter cap after counter cap. It's overextend after overextend. And sometimes it can come down to something as simple as an overshield control to really make that difference.
Snipe Drone, he's going to pull this one. His flag's being ran towards him. Needs to make a play. Unfortunately, he can't do so. He gets hit by a nade, and 2 go in the favor of Navi. Jimbo's got the flag the entire way. All they need to do is get this return. They need to do it quickly, though. You see members of Acend starting to approach the side. Jimbo hops that return immediately, punches it in. And they tie this one up. Navi not going to go quietly in the night here on Catalyst CTF. This one could go the distance.
What a response from Navi. Not only was it a flawless run from Jim, apart from a little bit of a trip on that final hurdle, but it was how they controlled the spawns of Ascend, how they managed to keep tabs on those overextenders as Jim tries to toss the overshield off the map.
I think he does toss that one off, and Respectful just moments away from denying that. But Respectful, he's going to see an opening, take a player with them. Good defense from Navi to shut down Respectful, but there's still numbers to deal with.
So tough when you spawn back base and you know that grenades are being hurtled your way, but Legend is doing what he can to stay alive. Mighty's also gets one onto Snipe Drone, and it's a 3 versus 3 now. Legend's still being a nuisance at the back of this base. Is he going to be able to stay on the map? No, he won't. He goes dipping, he goes diving, and now Navi can have a 4 versus 3.
Good job by Navi. Defense stands strong. Keep this at a 1-to-1 game for now. What can Kimbo do to make a play? Create some space for his team. Wants to double back. Knows that the push has already come through. Great teamwork between him and Mighty as they find 3 together. And not only that, you see on the other side of the map, it's 2 Foxy running the flag.
So not only have they got rid of the first player back in their base, but the flag is moving. As long as Foxy doesn't get taken down by across-map shots, which he doesn't, this is a really good position for Navi. They just need to make sure Foxy gets his shield back, which he does, and now he can get on in. He can capture this one. Navi go 2-1 up here.
Style points with the grapple, but even more of a heads-up play from 2 Foxy. He says, if my teammates can get these kills, I can run this flag. They get the kills, I run the flag. Everybody making plays for Navi to take the lead here.
So much easier to make plays like that on LAN as well, where you can watch your teammates screen, you can see what's happening. You don't have to keep your eyes on the kill feed as much as you would if you were playing online. 6 minutes still remaining though. And even though Navi have the lead, Ascend won't be too worried. They just need to make sure they keep tabs on these players overextending from Navi, because they have been a nuisance.
And Ascend have got to be frustrated at this point, as they are pulling a flag of their own, looking for respawners that are attempting to overextend. They are heavily outslaying Navi right now, but they are down 2-1. The name of the game is capture the flag, and they're going to need to punch this one in. But at the same time, these overextenders, you got to go back with the flag, because they're going to be a real threat, as Overshield briefly seen on Respectful screen in the hands of Navi, going to make this a very difficult situation to deal with.
And the fact this flag is not being captured, a lot of it down to Kimbo. He waited patiently around a corner, he got the back whack, they get the return as well. So it's another flag run, stifled and stopped here by Navi. They seem to have a very good plan. It's keep one player alive and hide. Make sure they do not know where you are, so you can do what you can to either do damage or at least get the kill on that flag run.
And even so, Ascend get the slays, but guess what? The return comes through again. Navi somehow finding a way to get the return, even though they're not getting the kills. And as long as they're dying on Ascend's side of the map, they will not risk losing a cap.
So difficult to navigate these fights in base because of the pillars. So many nooks and crannies that you can hide behind, and we are seeing these players learn how to navigate these fights a little bit more successfully when you're on the more offensive side, and Mighty's just about stays alive here. But of course, those spike grenades, they hit hard.
Pretty lethal. Snipe Drone can't get a trade. 3 go down. That flag, it's pretty advanced, and Jim, he has his eyes set on the prize, but here's his teammate say, I'm going to go for that one. So Jim, it's your job just to subside some of the pressure and find out where Ascend are spawning, because you know that they're going to try to keep this at a 1-cap game. And Legend, he gets the first. That's a big one from Legend. 3 go down for Navi, so they maybe overextended a little too much to try and get that flag. Let's see if Ascend can punish them.
Anything you can do, I can do better. 3 go down on one side. Flag gets pulled on one side. Snipe Drone can keep that one running as well, but 2 of his teammates have fallen. So Navi, they're going to do exactly the same. They're going to be overextending, but as Ascend run this flag, let's jump into an Astro listening and see what the comms are like.
I watch out, bro. You might have to cut this edge, you might have to cut that. Yeah, I can watch it or cut it. I'm going. I'm going to do weak. Nice, speed it.
Last guy on OS. Last guy has OS.
Okay,
on my X now. He's going to come our Ivy side, alright? Ivy side with OS.
So now I'm going to get sneaky on this side.
Ivy side with OS, 2 Foxy.
I'm on the side here.
Seeker, I think he's your side. Mike, I'm watching.
Hey, he's on me, he's above me. Okay, P1. Watch out, T1, Timbo.
Very, very calm in a hectic situation, a sporadic game that has had a lot of chaos. Respectful, keeping the boys very calm, cool, collected, giving directions on how to punch that one in and exactly where that overshield player is located. But no time to talk about what's happened, because consistent action is the name of the game here on Catalyst. It's going to be a flag stalemate here as both are being pulled, and these slays are crucial.
We've seen this so many times where both flags are out. And that one kill can really make the difference. Skewer coming up in 8 seconds, but no one's going to worry about that at the moment. It's about flag runs. You worry about the sword coming out of nowhere. It seems to always be in Mighty's hand at the moment.
Mighty's coming out of nowhere. Stops that flight dead in its tracks. Wants to hop the return, but the grenades are so easily funneled onto that location. Eventually does get that return, and how many times have we seen it? Navi with these returns have been so crucial to staying in this game. They get killed, but once again, on Acend side of the map, the flag's not being run. It's all about playing the objective while slaying. And as I say that, a couple more kills for Acend while the flag is being pulled could give them the lead with 2.5 minutes left.
So important when you can survive there on one shot. And it was big kills coming out of Legend to give them this opening, but Foxy gets one of his own. It's a 4 versus 3, and here comes the base battle once more. Legend's going to be the first point of contact, and Legend again wins that 1v1, and now he's got the sword. Acend are looking to take the lead.
Respectful does go down, another player's no shield. He is going to slide in, and as he is the last player alive, Sika able to get it in, but the counter cap is a realistic opportunity now. You're seeing Jimbo here run this through the hallway. There is going to be a spawner to try and deal with, though. Snipe drone gets the fortunate spawn below him, but Jimbo, he has help. 2 Foxys there, they get the kill, and now they should have a numbers advantage to deal with overextenders that are going to be here for Jim to deal with.
What a fantastic run it's been from Navi. Kimbo does go down, though. Got to be careful. Should be an easy cap. Will be. It's 3-3 with 1 minute 30. The winners final starting to get a little bit spicy now.
My adrenaline is going because I know these players are dealing with these chaotic situations so well right now. What a response from Navi with 1.5 minutes left in this game to tie it up. Neither team wants to lose this one. It is such an important game here in the winners bracket finals. Legend has done so much to help his team keep this at a 3-3 scoreline, but right now Kimbo behind enemy lines. He used the grapple to get there, catches a player off guard. Not only that, but he's got the flag on the move. 2 down for Acend. Navi have it in their hands.
Sika's just pulled one, though. He's behind enemy lines. He wants to get that flag as far away as possible, but he gets caught out. Navi in a 3 versus 3. Flag still moving. Snipe drones just spawned, so it's going to be down to players like Respectful, like Legend, to try and get some kills here.
Are they going to be here in time is the question. An overextension, that flag is still out, but it's going to return. Legend hops in it momentarily, but not enough. The kills come through. The cap is in. Navi take the lead.
35 seconds left for Acend, otherwise Navi are going to go up in this series. It's all about defense now. Double kill for Kimbo. Navi staying alive. They're in a 4 versus 2, and Acend have one last push to try and keep this game alive.
Every kill Navi get, there's going to be a little bit more patience in their game, a little bit more happiness. They know they've got this one in the bag as long as they slay out. 3 go down for Acend, and Kimbo standing at the midline. Halfway, making sure no one on Acend can get there. 2 Foxy, somehow he's in Ascend's base. And at that point, he knows he's got the win. Some dead bodies are being shot, but more importantly, some fist pumps are being thrown. Mighties can feel Navi take the lead here 2-1 in our finals.
Navi take the lead in the winners bracket finals against Acend. It's not something I thought I would be saying at this tournament, but Navi have not been the same team that we saw online. This is a completely reinvented Navi lineup. And their previous teammate is on the other side of that stage. Acend 2-1 down. What do they do now they are behind? This is not a position Acend often find themselves in. They are used to winning, and they're used to winning comfortably.
The first objective game they take a loss in as well throughout this tournament. And now you're starting to get nervous if you're an Acend fan, because Navi, they were not supposed to be a threat coming in. The pickup of Respectful was supposed to make you better. And although they've looked good in the qualifiers, they have looked good throughout this tournament. They now find themselves down in the winners bracket finals for the first time, and it's because of the plays being made on the other side of the stage. It's 2 Foxy leading them in damage, but more importantly, when flags needed to be pulled, when slays needed to come through, 2 Foxy made the plays happen.
And it was a constant battle of overextending, of pulling a flag when sometimes you're the last remaining player. And one of the biggest ones for me was when Foxy was overextended. He was on the other side of the base. He was keeping a keen eye on the kill feed, and his teammate screens, and he pulls that flag just as they get a couple of kills, and those are the most successful runs when you're able to pull that flag instantly after a couple of frags.
What's the exact situation you're talking about where it's a 2v3? It is Kimbo and Mighties versus 3 members of Acend, and somehow give me Kimbo and Mighties to come out on top there. And when Foxy sees that, he's like, I don't know what you guys just did, but somehow, some way, you've done enough for me to pull this flag, and that's a beautiful objective efficiency done by Navi, something we've slighted them in the past for, especially in the oddball games, but in CTF, the classic game mode, Navi, the veterans show up.
And in that final run, even though Acend gave it their darn hardest, they just couldn't quite break into that base quick enough to stop Navi from being able to take a 4-3 lead. And with only 30 seconds left, as soon as that kill happened, I think Acend knew. I even think Legend was stood still at one point and just accepting defeat, accepting they were going to go 2-1 down in this series and have to make a comeback here in game number 4. And that's when we saw the pop-off. Look what it means to Mighties. Now, Wes, you know I like my fun facts.
Let's hear it.
These guys, they scrimmed just a couple of weeks, maybe a week before Valencia. It was a 17-1 lead to Acend. You know the one game type that Navi won? Strongholds Recharge.
I was going to guess it. You got to give me a second to answer, Dan, but typically when you're bringing up a stat, it is the following game that we're talking about, so I had a little bit of a cheat there. Strongholds Recharge is the name of the game, and honestly, I've actually loved what I've seen from Acend all year long, but the fact that you tell me they've most recently lost it gives Navi some hope to be able to close this one out, especially if it was online, because this LAN Navi roster, they look a little bit different than they have on their scrims and the online qualifiers. They are starting to hit a groove, and we're going to see if Acend can knock them out of that groove now, as they have now found themselves on the backseat of this series. It's 2-1 Navi. Acend want to push this one to a game 5, and I can guarantee you Navi want nothing to do with that story. So it is going to be Strongholds Recharge that we launch into here to decide that from taking place. And once again, someone's got to stop Kimbo getting away like a thief in the night with camo.
It's the easiest camo of his life. Legend comes soaring on in. Can't quite see it though. Kimbo tries to stay alive in hope that the bullets don't connect. But Navi, if they can take that momentum from the previous game, if they can play the same way they played Slayer Recharge, the way they were controlling spawns, the way they were positioning themselves with angles, this is going to be a very tough game for Acend.
How are Acend going to respond to losing the objective? It's an early lead for them, but as they lose a numbers advantage, this could momentarily be control. No one in a position to really compete for A here, and multiple members of Navi usually mean good things are going to happen for the black and yellow. And look at that. Mighties, he's not satisfied with just 2. You can tell already they want B.
Not only can get B, but can also provide a little bit of covering fire. Unfortunately, Legend pulls out a massive double kill, which is why Mighty's having to just retreat here to give a little bit of assistance over towards A. That's good experience play, though, from Mighty's. Maybe not nading your teammate, but previously just staying alive and making sure you help your team.
That's bad experience for Mighty's, but unfortunately, on a little bit different pages here as Navi go 3 down. Acend take control back, and Kimbo, he's going to get shot in the back here. He actually doesn't transfer B over at all, so now this is a Acend trip cap, and if you know anything about this Acend roster since the Halo 5 days, it's in Strongholds, when they get trip caps, sometimes the game just ends.
Have you prodded the beast a little bit too hard now? Are Acend going to come back roaring, or can Navi tame them once more? B and A once again being contested. Kimbo can't quite get it though, but C's also having a little scrap. Navi doing very well to try and keep Acend guessing at the moment, but Acend have kept these balls in their court.
Blaze coming through. Foxy trying to play his life, just being a nuisance. Does just more than that. Takes down Snipe Drone with the repulsor. A beautiful setup. You can see the play happening in his head the entire time, and with that, they may be able to get an advantage, but elsewhere on the map, 3 go down for Navi, and Foxy still alive over at C. Gonna try to make plays, but just so difficult when Acend have so much pressure, so much presence on the map.
113-1. Navi can't even get off spawn at the moment. Look at them scarping to try and get away here in long haul, but they'd be surrounded. They've got eyes on them at all moments, and Seeker, having the shock rifle in his back pocket, could just erupt at any point, but Navi do finally shut him down.
They get a couple of kills, and these 2 players, they're no shield. They need to stay alive. More importantly, they need to get into a stronghold. A nice shot from Mighty's continues numbers in their advantage. A C and B, they're going to be taken over. So Navi finally break the setup, but damage has been done. Dan, it is 150-4.
We're going to have to see something special from this Navi roster, and are we asking a little bit too much of them? They have an amazing tournament so far, as Mighty's can't quite connect with that one, eventually does clean it up. It is a killing spree though, and that's what you want to see from a player, just to try and give everyone else in the team a little bit of belief.
More space, more belief, more opportunity, right? All of that being provided by Mighty's here and now with the shock in hand, but as he finds himself going down into a grenade, that opportunity squandered by the Navi roster. They go 3 dead, and the Sin look to continue pressure on.
Navi stuck in elevator, having to try and fight their way out of it, but Legend waltzes on in, picks up a double, and he knows exactly where Foxy is towards pipes as well. They're doing so well, Ascend, at the moment at relaying that information so that Navi can't escape around any route they try and take.
TikTok goes to Stronghold points. Already up to 167. 2 Foxy knows he needs to slay. Catches Sika off guard, but it doesn't matter. Sika gets the better of him, and when kills like that happen, you become disgruntled. You start to lose focus. You start to lose hope that this game could be yours, especially when the camo player gets snipped out as well. So Ascend on top of everything here in game 4.
Sika must have spotted him from across the map and given Legend that info. That was such quick reactions to spot that camo player walking around the corner. And this is what's dangerous about Ascend, is even though they're very capable of going for a trip cap here, they've got so much control and they've got so much tabs on these Navi spawns, they can win this game purely with A and B.
Yeah, they don't need a trip cap anymore. 205-20. This is an absolute slaughter, a showcase, a masterclass from the Ascend roster. The reset for May, a beautiful grapple. Positioning from Respectful has been perfect throughout this game. Trying to now stop Mighty's from capturing B. Can't quite do any damage, but maybe buys enough time for the rest of the boys. And Snipe Drone, he's there with Snipe in hand now. Able to get the reset, and this one's almost over, Dan. Navi are on respawn once again.
It's taking me back to, I think it was Pro Series number 6 when Ascend beat Navi 250-26. They might even better that record here as they take over to 130. And Snipe Drone with the killing spree and the shock rifle doing some damage. Ascend want to send this to a game 5.
Yeah, if you're Navi, do you just stop playing? Do you just take a moment to take a deep breath? They're going to try and compete for B, but 244 and counting. Everybody on Navi stuck towards the long haul side of the map. One last push, and it's already shut down. Legend stands up, lets them hear about it. Sika with some kind of foreign dance we don't do over in America, but it looks good to me. We're going to a game 5.
And we don't do it in Europe either, I'm going to be honest. It's the new invented dance move. We'll call it the Sika. And I tell you what, if Ascend go on to win this entire tournament, maybe we'll all be doing the Sika tonight at the after party. But 2-2, tied up. This is what we wanted from this winners bracket finals. Maybe not what Navi wanted, of course, a game 5 slayer, but that was an absolute steamroll. I think that Ascend, they were a little bit pissed off that they lost that game 3, and they showed it in game number 4.
Absolutely, a masterclass of Strongholds performance, and Ascend do what they do best. They play the Halo 5 game types perfect, as they have for the last 600 days over in the European scene. And look at the stats, everybody popping off. Sika with 11 assists. And on the other side, Kimbo, maybe not as involved as he wanted to be in some of the combat loops, especially not on the right outcome of some of them at the 2 and 13 performance. And Dan, you got to think about mentality, these emotions these players are going through this series. It's so important, it's for so much money, it's for so much pride. And we're going to a game 5, and Navi maybe not going there the way they wanted to, especially after, I would say, a pretty non-competitive game 4.
And whilst, of course, the elimination bracket does await whoever loses this series, the advantage you get going into that grand finals, if you are to win, is huge. As we look back at some of these highlights, it was such a one-sided game that I'm surprised we even have a replay package. I'm sure that Snipe Drone shot towards the very end will very much feature, but it really was a commanding game where Navi were never able to get off spawn, and that shows the structure that Ascend can play with when they're on top.
And I hinted at it, but I said when Ascend get a trip cap, sometimes the game just ends. This was one of those moments where Ascend, you get the trip cap, you pressure spawns, you force split spawns, you continuously are rotating between Strongholds perfectly. And not only that, but the power weapons make the job so much easier. And now all of our eyes are set on a Game 5. It's going to be Aquarius, Team Slayer, one of the fastest Game 5s we're going to have in Halo Infinite. And both these two teams, they've started to pick up the pace here this weekend, but Acend, they're known for going fast, and who can we favor going into this one?
I think when you look at what Legend has been able to do in every single game with the engagements he's won, the 1v1s he's taken, sometimes the 1v2s he's been winning, he's going to be one of the keys to success here for Acend. So if you're Navi, you've got to shut him down. You can't allow him to just parole around bottom middle, finishing off those kills, doing whatever the hell he wants. You need to make sure you keep tabs on him here.
And on the side of Navi, I'm looking at Mighties to step up, have a big game. This is one to remember. Your first Game 5 of a winner's bracket finals is here and now. Can you step up, young gun? Can you make a play to remember? This is a legacy opportunity for both these two teams, but I'd have to say what a story it would be for Navi to create the upset here, to give themselves such an advantage here in this tournament. And let's start on board with Mighties.
In the last 2-3 years, Acend have been in pretty much every grand finals apart from one in Europe. But now we're on LAN. This is where Navi want to showcase that they can get it done, as another camouflage and another game type goes in favor of the black and yellow.
Still tied 2-2. It's ironic that Mighties and Legend, they meet up top pink, they end up trading out. So both the superstars for these squads negated at the start. But Jimbo, he knows what he's capable of, finds himself a double with this camo, finds the third as well. Information to a teammate that this player is by himself, no shield. Let's get this kill. And Navi starting to take control of the map early.
If Navi can take a 5-6 kill lead, they can really start
Look
to
at
pummel
this.
them into the ground.
Jimmy!
As Jimmy gets a double, and he wants some more, but perhaps gets a little bit over-aggressive, but he's done damage for the rest of the team. Navi swoop on in. It's 7-4, and it could be more.
7-4, how are Acend going to deal with this situation? Multiple members in the closet. A tough fight is going to benefit Acend as they flood into the closet to retake a little bit of control on the map. And now Jimbo somehow has been behind them on the flank. Can he make a play to impact some of the respawners that Navi are going to be having across the map? Jim has a perfect opportunity to upset everything Acend has planned.
In the games which Jim stepped up, Navi have had so much success, but it's 8-8 now, make it 9-8. Acend flip the script and they take the lead. And Navi for the first time find themselves behind, but it's still a heat wave in the hands of Jimbo. He does manage to get one more, but this game is going to be very difficult to keep tabs on if players are running at each other like that. If they are just sending it into these engine rooms, you've got to be careful that you don't get caught out by grenades.
Predictability. So difficult to stay on your feet, to keep your head in the game locked in like you should. 3 go down for Navi as camo was coming up, and Acend doing everything they need to take control of the mid game. Up 2 kills now, and Legend, he's top middle with the heat wave. You do not want Legend to secure that camo if you're a Navi fan, and Legend, he's actually going to press the advantages of the map. Finds the first pick with a nice thrust in the heat wave, a teammate to help, and now all of a sudden Navi need to figure out a way to come on spawn and create some space, and Kimbo staying alive with camo would have done just that.
Cannot escape the sights of Legend. And I'm a broken record at this point, but all of these players, they are prioritizing that thrust off spawn. It's in a dangerous position to try and get, but with the right slides, you can get there so quickly, in and out, but it's 18-14. A very solid start from Navi is slowly but surely slipping through their fingers. Respectful now has his hands on the heat wave and the camouflage.
Legend, because he hit those shots on the Kimbo, he denied camo from being dissolved into Kimbo Spartan. Because of it, it is now in the hands of Respectful, and because of that, he's able to get front the base, unbound, unscathed, finds 2, and that's exactly what Acend need.
Nice shots from Jim, a big double.
Massive.
And you saw the little bounce behind by Wonderboy, the little hype that maybe Navi need just to keep them picked up here. They don't want to let this game fall away, because we've seen it time and time again where Acend start to run away with the game, but Jimbo is the key here for Navi. 11 kills at the moment. They need to keep up with the pace of which he's playing.
Jimbo's doing such a good job to keep his team in this one for now, but he cannot do that the entire game. Acend are too strong all around to allow one player to make that much of a difference in the score. 28-19 now. The game's starting to get out of hand for Navi. When was the last time they had any control?
The last time this happened, we saw Navi just pause for a moment. They sat around the corner, they tried to slow the game down, but they got caught out by Acend. It was a camouflage that did the job. There's another camouflage on the map. Are Navi in a position to actually grab this one? Mighty's the first to go down, and suddenly it's an 11-kill game, and Navi are falling to pieces here on the main stage.
Respectful starting to feel it in the bottom left as well. You see the emotion on the kills. The slays come through once again for Acend, and now they have momentum, they have the lead, and they can feel the winners bracket finals going in their favor. Let's hop on board with an Astro, listen in with Acend, and listen to this championship roster take form.
Watch it, Jimbo.
That's tunnel. Seeker, car, one shot. Two dynamos weak, boys. 2-2 on me, 2 on me.
Top car, one shot. Black, I got.
Dinos.
Alright, he's a little bit weak, Ledge. Yeah, we'll trade. Nice! One shot that frame,
One shot, yellow. Behind me, Seeker. Look at me, car one.
Watch out, blue from base.
Nice! Let's go.
Carton on me.
Carton
weak, Jimbo. Carton weak, Jimbo.
Top car, one shot.
Can't see him, mate.
Légende, essaie de rester en jeu. Il va mettre
Can't see him, bro.
K1, P1, Ledge. K1, watch it. P1. Two there, P on me. I got it. Jim's P1 as well, weak.
Watch out by mid, Jimbo. Watch out. Nice, let's go, boys.
Yo, yellow gen from Nate.
I'm going to their gen. I'm in.
Oh, Gen.
One shot, watch out, Gen.
Yellow gen weak, Mighty. You guys yellow gen, I think.
I'm pushing.
Yellow gen weak,
Legend starting to hit his final form, the triple kill, standing up. Letting Navi hear about it, but more importantly, 4 kills to go for Acend. The steak dinner's a realistic possibility, but more importantly, the finals are what Acend have their eyesights on, and with 2 more kills to go, they will end up there.
This is a victory parade at this point. You just need one more, and you're going to the grand final. They stand up, they shout, and it's Acend in a grand final once more.
Acend still remain on top in the European Halo scene, and they're gonna find themselves sitting very comfortable as that elimination bracket finals goes on later on, because Navi, they're headed directly there. A date with Destiny potentially on the cards, but Acend with a title to win this weekend put Game 5 in their hands, and it was a dominant win from Game 4 on. You felt Acend take flight.
And what's amazing about this Acend roster is even though they've dominated European Halo for the past few years, this is the first time we're seeing them on LAN. And whilst Respectful and Snipe Drone, sure, they've won championships, not the same for Seeker and Legend. This is their first time with their chance to actually win a title on LAN, and they've done job 1. That's get to the grand final. That's beat one of their biggest competitors in Navi. On the other side for Navi, boy did they come close here, Wes, and they gave it their all, but now they're gonna have to go into that elimination bracket and try and make a comeback.
Jimbo doing everything he can with 16 to his name, but just not enough help from the rest of the squad. And as we remember the quote from Respectful in the interview, Dan, Acend, they thrive in chaos, and Aquarius Slayer, it can be a very chaotic game, and we saw them thrive at their very best. Everyone on Acend doing their part, going positive. But Snipe Drone, he had 1 bad game today, said no more, I'm consistently good. You remember that. Maybe not the most damage, but 16 kills to his name as well, so Snipe Drone popping off when Acend need him most.
So Acend get to sit pretty in that grand final and wait to see who will eventually arrive to try and take them down. As for Navi, they need to wait and find out of Jaylins and Quadrant who they're going to be playing. And I think the desk might know who they will be going up against if that series has finished. Lottie and the guys break that one down.
Well, it would be my pleasure. I mean, what an incredible series
wow.
that was. So hard fought from both sides there. Acend obviously coming out on top, but going to that Game 5, I think was so special to see both of these 2 Titans in the element. And I think, you know, I was a little bit disappointed with Navi right at the end there in that slay. They obviously did have the leg up right at the beginning from the get-go, and Acend just managed to catch up. And I think that does come down to, I think, unfortunate kind of disorganization. I was seeing Mighty's a lot of the time kind of just running into things and not really kind of working as a team and going out on his own limb. Same a little bit with 2 Foxy as well, but Jimbo was playing so well. It just felt a little bit not on the same page on set.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk too much about what Navi did wrong. Let's talk about what Acend did right, because they dominated that last game, and they dominated the last 2 games of that series. The Strongholds was decimation. Navi didn't look like they were on the map most of the time. And this final game, I mean, when you ride that wave of momentum, when you've beaten someone so badly in a game 4, you want to get into a Slayer, especially a quick one like Aquarius, where we know this Ascend roster can really thrive.
I think looking at Navi, the pressure of the moment perhaps got to Mighties. He's found himself in a Game 5 winners finals on the main stage, and we're seeing him make decisions like walking up a stairs on Aquarius backwards, not trying to clear corners, backwards. He slides back down the stairs. It's an easy and free kill. And then the more deaths he gives away, the worse he starts to feel about it.
Yeah, indeed. I got to say also, Legend really pushing forward as well. I mean, just incredible stuff. It shows you what momentum can do for you, because getting that triple kill right at the end, the fact that he was going on a killing spree as well. I mean, that guy is just unstoppable.
He was playing amazing. I will say it wasn't 50-2, the final score. As good as Ascend played in that, it was 50-30, just to kind of put that right. But Legend, I mean, the thing I love about Legend and Seeker as a duo as well is there's clearly the passion there as well. And I think that they enjoyed that series more than anyone, because we've heard it from them saying we want to test. We want to be pushed to a Game 5. We want to be really earning our wins there. And when they earned it, they popped off. I mean, it's because they were like, yeah, that was a fun series to be a part of, and we came out on top.
Talking about pop-offs, though, this is the classic one, or is it this side? I'm not sure, but I got Seeker on the desk, who we saw actually giving us the pop-off indeed. Seeker, man, what an incredible series. How are you feeling, first of all, after that win? Because it was a pretty hard one, huh?
Yeah, I'm feeling very tired, to be fair, because it was a long series. I was not expecting this to be that close, but you know, it is what it is. I wanted to give you guys a good series to cast. I hope that it was close now. I'm not sure that the grand final will be that close, but yeah, it was really enjoyable. I think that the biggest moment for us was when they were starting to teabag us and everything. Like when they were feeling too confident, we're like, no, this cannot happen. We have to humble them, and that's what we did.
Yep.
A long series, he says. Too tired. This man's not used to going past 3 games. That's the issue is. He only wins things in 3-0s and he moves on with his day. But talk to me about that last game. Yeah. You boys came out fit and firing, and you let them know almost every single kill. You were shouting across and let them know that body disrespect, it obviously pisses off.
Oh yeah, it did for sure. Like at the end of the Catalyst game, I was getting body disrespect every single time. I was like, no, this cannot happen. Am I going to lose? And I thought, no, it's impossible, guys. We got this. And after the Stronghold recharge, when we had a huge performances, to be fair, like they couldn't break our setups or anything. And like we're overconfident. We knew that they lost their momentum, and we knew that going into a Game 5, we're like the best at it. You know, like we handled the pressure better than them, and we just proved it, I think, in the best possible way.
I mean, I sort of spoke on the desk about how you guys haven't really been tested, haven't been put on the back foot too much. The most impressive thing for me about that series was that Strongholds game. Do you think going into that Strongholds game without the disrespect, you would have been able to fire yourself up quite as much? Or was it just a case of we know what we have to do?
I think it's just that we know what we have to do. We always do the same things, to be fair, even in scrims. Like, we're very methodical, like more than before. I know that we're known to be like really aggressive, but nowadays, as you could see on the game, like we played the 2 caps for the most of the game, which is not what we used to do before with Shady. So like we always do the same stuff, basically. It's just that it went well. I was expecting this to be closer, but yeah, they didn't find any solution. Things like that, they were under pressure so much, and yeah, it went very, very easily for us.
Now you're saying you know what to do. If you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, write it down here. I can sell the secrets on eBay afterwards, like doing a few bit of extra money in the pocket. Just write it down. Yeah, you work away with that. But a really impressive performance, it must be said, Seeker. Remember, cross the eyes. In English, please. In English, please.
Do not sign.
You want the secret formula?
Yeah, secret formula, please.
I was going to say, also never sign anything that Scherzi gives to you.
Absolutely.
Because
Make sure you read the fine print.
Watch out.
Make sure you read the fine print. It will be in an Irish accent, so if you need any help with that, I am a pro.
I'm terrible when it comes to writing. I hope that you can see it.
Get Legend in your dreams?
In your team.
On your team. Okay. It's more in my dreams.
Legend. Legend is in a few of our casters' dreams, actually, and Clutch as well. Yeah, Broth, please.
Seeker, amazing series from you, amazing series from Legend as well. The whole squad.
The whole squad, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole squad looks on fire. I mean, to stake dinner your Game 5 is a pretty big statement. You mentioned you don't expect the Grand Finals to be as close. Is there anything that you guys think you'll focus on as a squad to ensure the Grand Final isn't as close?
Nothing special. I think that we just have to play our game, and if we play as good as we can, there's nothing to be scared of. I think that everyone is feeling the pressure whenever they have to play against us, and the fact that they have to win 2 best-of-7 against us is quite hard. You know, like beating us is already hard, but beating us twice would be a statement. So I'm confident. I said in an interview that for me the hardest series would be the winner final. which is true actually.
Most
It seems
important.
like- yeah, it was the most important, and I said, yeah, basically if you can win the winner final, I'm confident that we'll win the grand final as well and bring the trophy.
Final question for me is, who do you think you're going to be matching up against in the final? Because we've seen what's going on the other side of the bracket. Navi have been playing pretty well. Quadrant now is kind of still in the... who do you think is going to be in that final?
Okay, so first, Jaylins are going to play Quadrant on main stage, right? Okay.
It'll
okay.
be, yeah.
I think it's already happening. I think it's in
Oh, sorry.
It's already happening.
It's currently happening. Okay, so I don't really know the winner of that, but I feel like Jaylins played very well against us. I feel like they have what it takes to beat Quadrant if they can play that good. And then it's really hard to guess who can win. It's going to be insanely close. I might guess something crazy and say Jaylins can go to grand final.
Okay.
All right. We'd love
That's
to see it,
a big
And
show
we're
of
hearing in our
respect.
ears there, Jaylins are eliminated. That's not the truth, but it could have been.
Well, I do have some confirmation that our next game is going to be Quadrant versus Navi. So I believe.
Okay, never mind.
Wait,
I believe it'll
I
be
now trust nothing this man says. I'm not-
Cut it off, cut it off. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Quadrant are going to win, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was Quadrant.
You know what?
We'll edit it all out.
Yeah,
I thought you said Quadrant, not. I knew it. I knew it. CK, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the desk. Thank you so much. An amazing show that you put on for all of us here and at home as well. Best of luck going forward. Not that you're going to need it. You guys are absolutely insane. But you're in the grand finals now. You're also going to Orlando. So best of luck, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Let's take a look at the brackets, though, to see the updates as they come through here. Now you can see we got our elimination finals happening very shortly. Quadrant 3-1 versus Jaylins, despite the amount of want and need that Seeker had for Jaylins to come forward. He thought they might do it and get to the grand final. Unfortunately, Jaylins will be knocked out of the tournament. You will see them in Orlando, though, and our elimination finals, Quadrant versus Navi.
Yeah, great run, though, from Jaylins. Just want to give them... We didn't get to see them on the main stage against Quadrant due to the series we obviously just had in front of us, but a great performance from Jaylins. I think they really impressed a lot of people, but on the same side of that, Quadrant coming out of that series 3-1 shows how well they've started playing too.
Yeah, I think commiserations to Jaylins, but they can look now to Orlando that they managed to solidify top four. There's question marks heading into this with Online Warriors, Blackhand. Would they be able to threaten their spot? But they made sure to do it on LAN. Quadrant against Navi in the losers finals. Oh, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough game, and that is what we've got left on the cards here to find out who is going to be joining Acend in that grand final position. And of course, just to remind everyone, it's going to be a hard road for the elimination bracket. You've got to reset a bracket if you want to take home that trophy. It's a lot on the cards, it's a lot on the line. You're going to need to get a few energy drinks in, I think, or maybe a couple of coffees if you want to see this one through. And folks, I assure you, you do. After the break, we do have our elimination finals coming up. We have Navi going up against Quadrant, who are looking out for revenge. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you right after this break.